Let's bring in Republican Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming. He's a member of the Foreign Relations Committee. He's also a Republican leader in the Senate. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. You're just back from Afghanistan. Yes. I want to talk to you about that as well. But what's your reaction when he says he's going to bring down the price of pharmaceuticals right now? Because pharmaceutical companies clearly not happy, and some Republicans are not happy that he's intervening as well.
Well, you know, it's interesting. The pharmaceutical companies agreed with President Obama on passing Obamacare. So this was part of the agreement. We need to make all of health care more affordable. Drugs, hospitalizations, doctor visits, and that's what we're trying to do immediately with a repeal and then a replacement of the entire Obama health care law so people can get the care that they need from a doctor they choose at lower costs and have more flexibility and choice. You
support repealing and replacing. Do you support a 2-year replacement policy or a 3-year replacement policy? Because there seems to be a debate among Republicans right now how long it will take to completely change the Affordable Care Act.
Well, the important thing is that for people who've had their lives so significantly disrupted, we want to make sure there's a smooth transition to do that. We visited with Vice President-elect Pence yesterday. He came to the Senate Policy Committee luncheon to talk about that. We just want to make sure that we don't disrupt significantly the lives of the people.
Who now have health insurance, who never had it before, but now had it thanks to Obamacare?
Well, you know, I have a lot of people in Wyoming that had it before. It worked for them, and it was affordable. But they lost it because of the Obama health care law, because the president said it wasn't good enough for him. So he counts them now as having, quote, good insurance, where in fact they had something that worked for them. The American people, as of last week, Gallup poll, 80% said we either need to repeal and replace or fundamentally change the health care law because it's not working for so many Americans. 8 out of 10.
But are you with the 2-year folks or the 3-year folks for completely replacing it with something new?
I want to do it as soon as possible to limit the damage that's already been done. We need to start repairing the damage. It's taken 6 years with this health care law to kind of drive the cart into the ditch. It's going to take a while to bring it back out and onto the road to affordable health care.
On the issue of General Mattis becoming defense secretary, I assume you favor congressional legislation giving him a waiver. He's only been out of the military for 3 years. You're supposed to be out for at least 7 in order to take over civilian leadership of the Department of Defense. I want you to listen to what the president-elect said about this. Okay. Listen to this.
He'll get that waiver, right? He's going to get that. Oh, if he didn't get that waiver, there'll be a lot of angry people. Such a popular choice.
Now, that waiver is being included as a temporary spending bill, if you will, which is critically important. Some are saying, you know, why include the waiver in that essential legislation? They say this is really not fair.
Well, it's a continuing resolution that funds the government. It sets up an expedited procedure to get him through sooner so that he can get that vote. I believe he ought to be confirmed after the hearings and proper vetting. But, you know, when you take a look at North Korea, Russia, Iran, and the situation we've had with President Obama, where he has welcomed sort of the aggression, invited the aggression because of what I believe were shows of weakness by the Obama administration. When you have to deal with somebody whose nickname is Mad Dog, it's going to make people think twice before taking aggressive action against the United States.
You think that's why the president picked him, because of his nickname?
I think he picked him because of his incredible career in the military, the respect that all Americans have for him, for his service. Certainly the men and women in uniform respect him immensely.
What about you just came back to Washington. You were just spent a few days in Afghanistan with U.S. troops on the ground. There's still, about 10,000 U.S. troops in Afghanistan. They're fighting over there. It's a very, very dangerous operation. And you didn't just go to Kabul. You went outside of Kabul.
Well, we did. And, you know, the president says he's ended 2 wars. There are still thousands of Americans at war in Afghanistan and fighting not just the Taliban, but ISIS is now setting up.
How significant is ISIS in Afghanistan?
It's significant in the area near the Afghan border with Pakistan, over near Jalalabad. And we went to that area, to Gambari, to a forward operating base.
Are there Americans based there?
There are Americans, including a guy from Wyoming who was, to spend Thanksgiving dinner with a young person who, is there keeping us safe and keeping us free. You go to see your troops to thank them for the job they're doing on behalf of all Americans. I have Wyoming National Guard troops there, as well as at Bagram Air Force Base.
You want those 10,000 American troops to stay in Afghanistan?
We need to get the mission completed. I think the president has drawn down.
That mission is going to go on for a long, long time, as you know.
And it's expanding because ISIS is now moving its operations there. So I have a lot of concerns about the way that the drawdown has occurred. That Bagram military base, there was actually a suicide bomber who was a local who built a bomb on himself and killed 2 American soldiers, injured another dozen. This is on the military base. And the reason is, when I talked to the troops there, that local was doing a job that used to be done by a member of the military. So when you draw down but keep the base there, there are costs to that.
Is it your understanding the president-elect wants to keep those 10,000 American troops in Afghanistan?
I'll let the president-elect obviously speak for himself, not specifically about that. But you want to go, I go every year at Thanksgiving to wherever the Wyoming National Guard is to thank them on behalf of the people of the country, to make sure they have everything they need, and they mostly want to talk about home. You know, Wolf, they love to see you. They don't want to see you for long, but they love to see you, and it's good to be there with them at a holiday.
Yeah, just under 10,000 troops there now, about 9,800 U.S. troops. It's going to go down 1,000 or so, maybe in January.
And they're training others.
There's still a lot of Americans there, and it's a very, very dangerous place.
But it was the pullout from Iraq that allowed the vacuum to occur, for which ISIS then grew up.
There was Al-Qaeda in Iraq long before the U.S. pulled out. ISIS emerged from Al-Qaeda in Iraq. So this is a debate that is going to go on for a long time. Scholars can discuss that down the road. Senator.
And we will.
I'm glad you're back safe and sound
thanks.
from Afghanistan. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Wolf.